answer your questions, so I encourage you already to just interrupt me if you have a question and post that straight away, and we are not leaving it for the end. But first of all, as it is my first day here in India and also in the summer school, I would actually like to know who you are. I realized already that the majority is from India and people from neighboring countries, but I would like to hear or to see which stakeholder group you are, and would like to raise your hand if you belong to a governmental stakeholder group. One only? 2? 3? So you're not sure if you're government or... Okay, civil society, academia? Oh, okay, this is the great majority. Technical people? Also a few. And are there any people from the business sector, from private companies?
Yes.
So that's a very good mixture of group. Congratulations. I would like to concentrate on how to participate in internet governance, focusing on the IGF and regional and national initiatives. Just to introduce myself, I have 3 hats I'm wearing at the moment for a long time, and you can actually see them. I started in 2007 with the Summer School on Internet Governance in Europe. We are doing it every year since 2007, and it's really great to see that so many other schools have emerged in the world, and congratulations again to the organizers for organizing the first Indian summer school here back to back with the ICANN meeting. Then I'm also the Secretary General of the European Dialogue on Internet Governance. You see the similarity in acronyms. The reason is the acronyms have been invented by the same person. The EuroDIG is the European IGF, and I got involved in the very early days. I was just responsible for updating the website, and this was just a side job for me, but meanwhile I'm the head of the secretariat, and it takes most of my work time to work for this association. And then I also contribute to ICANN with some voluntary work. I'm a member of the ALEC since 2010. I will finish my 3rd term during this meeting, and will then be a member of the NOMCOM, still representing the ALEC and the European end users community. And by profession, I'm an architect, not even a software architect, just normal analog buildings. And I worked as such from 1997 to 2010. I was a one-woman entrepreneur. I earned my wages with that, and when becoming involved into internet governance, I found this was more interesting, and I encourage you to do the same. So. The internet, when we look at this development, in a way we look at the development of other important interventions. For instance, the car. The car was invented in 1886 in Germany, by the way, in my country. And 23 years later, it was decided, or there was a need, that it needs some traffic regulations. I'm using this slide since last year, and I found out by accident last year that the World Wide Web started in 1992, and last year, 23 years later, we are heavily discussing if we need traffic rules for the internet. And I found this quite an interesting analogy. I mean, if we consider how much impact mobilization brought for each country, we can truly compare this with the impact the internet brought for the global community. Now we can understand traffic rules in India are a little bit different from traffic rules in Germany. You're driving on the right side, we're driving on the left side, and we can apply to our rules within our national borders. That's not an issue at all. If you cross the border, you have to follow different rules. But the internet is not so easy. You cannot stop the rules at your borderline. I mean, having a service from the US based your data on a server in Europe and working on a device made in India. Which rules to apply? And which rules to apply if with this device and with this service you enter another country? So, although there is an analogy between two innovations, we cannot look at it in the same manner. We cannot look at the internet in the way we were looking at traffic regulations. So the big question is, who governs the internet? Or who sets the rules for the internet? And my answer would be, and I guess many of the speakers beforehand told you already, it's actually you. You should or you must govern the internet. The Blue Foundation, they made a very nice picture. That's quite an old one actually, but they made it very nice, showing how many bricks and how many layers the governance of the internet includes, and how many institutions are joining this. And when they invented the first picture of this, Net Mundial and others have not been on that part, but I mean, this is under constant update, this picture. So now we have two models I would like to touch, and now I would like to touch on one only. The first one is the ICANN multi-stakeholder model, and this is a decision-making body. We have to be very clear on that. At ICANN, we are taking decisions. We are moving things forward. And Olivier, and I guess many others, showed you already the many groups which are forming the ICANN community, and I guess you have already thought about which group might be the most interesting one for you and which one you might join. And I really encourage you that if you have the feeling you would like to join one of these groups, just go back to one of the lecturers, to Olivier, myself, or whomever, and ask how to get more deeply involved in one of these communities. And then we have the Internet Governance Layer System. I'm sure you heard about the global IGF already, and this, in contrary to the ICANN model, this is not a decision-making body, but it's a discussion forum only. And I put only in brackets. Underneath, and this is actually not a top-down initiative, but underneath the global Internet Governance Forum, a lot of sub-regional and regional forums have been established, and there are also 2 in your region and many nationals as well. I guess you heard about the business process already, but I just like to repeat again, because in this context with the IGF, it is really important to understand the importance and the difference of the business process to any other global processes. It was a process of the United Nations. For first, United Nations is governmental driven. But the important thing was, for the first time in history ever, it never happened before, that civil society was included in the conference. They had not to stay out of the doors, they were in the room and they were invited to discuss. And this was really the difference. And it was actually Kofi Annan who realized that the internet has such a great impact. You cannot regulate it in the manner you regulate other forums like the finance sector or climate change or whatever. But these sectors are meanwhile also opening up. But here for the internet, it was for the first time that civil society was invited to participate in the process equally. Well, in 2003 there was the first summit of the Information Society in Geneva. No conclusion, no agreement could be reached. A working group was formed, and they met again in 2005 for the Information Society in Tunis. And the Tunis agenda was the outcome of this summit. And one of the outcomes was the establishment of the Internet Governance Forum, as not a decision-making body, but a forum for discussion. The IGF is taking place since 2006 annually, and it was recently extended for another 10 years. These are the very important basics you should need to know about the business process and how it relates to the Internet Governance Forum. And of course, the definition of Internet governance. I'm sure you have seen this during that week already, but just because it is so important, and I highlighted in red, Internet governance is the development and application by governments, the private sector, and civil society in their respective roles. Whatever respective roles means, this is still under discussion and challenged, but it is the best definition we have so far, and it is still valid. And this all is what we call the multi-stakeholder model. So with the establishment of the Global Internet Governance Forum, it took, I think 1 year later, we already had the first national or regional governance forum, and this actually showed on what kind of fruitful soil this idea dropped. And there's this seed you can plant it everywhere in Europe, in North America, in Asia. So many national and regional initiatives have been developed, and they have different forms, different types of organization, and different types of how to organize this forum on a national basis. But it is clear that this is not going to go away anymore. I mean, even if the global IGF would not have been extended, the many national and regional forums would definitely have survived. They might have become even more important, not to say that they are not now important. In your region, for instance, you have the Asia-Pacific IGF and you have the Central Asia IGF. I mean, these are the both forums which I guess are the most relevant regional forums for you. And you see the Asia-Pacific regional IGF was already convened in 2010. So they have a good tradition already in multi-stakeholder dialogue. And if you haven't yet participated in one of these, I would strongly recommend you to do so in the future. I'm not sure if the Central Asia is closer to Europe. I would guess it's more the Asia-Pacific, I guess, to the people in the room. But it might be also worthwhile visiting the others, because this creates a better understanding among each other. And then looking at how many national IGFs are meanwhile recognized by the global IGF, there are only 3 nationals, which is Bangladesh, Sri Lanka and Indonesia.
Many more.
Many more.
Yeah.
But this is I just checked the IGF list, and this is what is on the list.
20 more.
20 for Asia?
Yeah.
But my question is, are they recognized by the global IGF?
I guess so. I will check, but
This is the actual list. I just downloaded it 2 days ago or so. We have a similar thing in Europe. We do have, I mean, these are mainly Europe's and then also the Southeastern European. We have many more in Europe which are active but which are not recognized by the global IGF because they either did not submit a report, or they are not multi-stakeholder enough, or they don't have a website, or whatsoever. So, I mean, the IGF, they will have some basic rules or some basic guidelines to follow in order to recognize you as a national IGF. And this is what I found on the list. And I wonder, has there been any attempt or any initiative in India already to form a national IGF? Are you aware of this? Because I haven't found anything.
Yeah, there is supposed to be an official process which also has a MAC officially notified by the government 2 years back, but nothing has happened now. But there's actually an official notification of the government about a MAC and an IGF in the files. It was never done.
They tried to make it to the IIT. There was an attempt prior to that to make, it was not an IIT was termed as IGF, right? But IIGC, sorry. Though it was not IGF completely, but that was one attempt made, but on IGF front, nothing has actually moved.
So question, in fact, it was in the making up, but it never happened, not even a pilot or something like this.
So anyone can start IGF, means any civil society organization or anybody without any government support?
Yes, in fact, yes. That's the way many national or regional, even the Eurodic initiative started, from civil society engagement. Others starting with governmental engagement or engagement from the technical sector. I'm not aware of any IGF which started with the business engagement. I'm not aware of that. But at the end, and this is one thing which makes an Internet Governance Forum unique, is that it has to have an attempt to be multi-stakeholder. So even if the initiative starts from one group only, which sometimes is just a condition you will find in your country and you have to live with it, then at least it should open up for all the other stakeholder groups.
Means we should have engagement from multi-stakeholders.
Exactly, business sector, technical, academia, civil society, youth.
It is required or is it mandatory?
It is mandatory, actually, to be really a multi-stakeholder organization. But now, I mean, we have to be frank, in some countries, when a government, for instance, starts such an initiative and it's mainly governmental driven, then it's somehow also governmental dominated. But as long as the government is ready and open to include all the others, and I mean, they may be a bit slower or they may have different reasons why they cannot actively participate, can be funding reasons, can be lack of knowledge, lack of awareness, and so on. Then I would always advocate that at least starting with an initiative, as long as it stays open for others to become involved. That's really, otherwise it wouldn't be an IGF, or it would not represent a multi-stakeholder model.
Sandra, if I may, I'm Sunny from APSIG. Thanks for talking about APR-IGF in this region. There's a really very vibrant community out there, and the current chair of the APR-IGF is actually the Paul Wilson, the DG of APSIG. And we also do provide fellowships if anyone interested for every APR-IGF meeting as well. And the other point I'd like to make is the list of the IGs in the Asia Pact. There actually there are more than 3 of them. I'm not sure whether they approached the global IGF to list their names there or not, but at least I know the 2 very active ones are the AU IGF, Australian IGF, and the New Zealand IGF. They have their conference every year, but the New Zealand one is called NetUI, in their own Maori towns. And they both are, they both do provide good opportunities. Yeah, that's exactly that's right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
There must be a reason why they are not on the website. I think a missing report, or it's probably the report missing, or they haven't contacted the global.
But the ones listed on the IGF website, especially the Bangladesh one, I haven't seen any activity there. The name is just listed, but I haven't seen any activity actually happening on a national level.
I think this definitely needs to be fixed, because many people are referring to the UN IGF website, and
Thank you.
Let me comment more. First of all, this diagram, I don't think we have a hierarchy. This is a hierarchy. And like a national IGF is not subsidiary of a regional. Regional is not subsidiary of global. It's sort of it's parallel. And they sort of collaborate. Maybe the better way. Second, the regional IGF, if you really insist putting the central IGF as one of them, you take a look at the program. Is it really the IGF? My recommendation is APR IGF is a big one. The second biggest one is IGF Arab. In our term, we call the West Asia, and including North Africa. That's the second IGF, which is reasonably functioning. But central IGF is they just started, and so it's not really fully functional. We tried to contact them and ask them to join this meeting, and sometimes it just doesn't work. And regarding the national IGF, I recommend you to read this book, Asia Internet History, Volume 3. You can check out internethistory.asia. Then you can find about 12 or 13 national IGF. Either it's recognized by the global IGF or not. That seems to be a secondary. Because I don't think we need an authorization from the global IGF to be IGF. As long as you are coordinating, having a dialogue in your country, that's the, I guess, it's IGF. Then about 12 or 13 or 15 of them, depending on how you count, you can find it on this website. But yeah, probably you better go on more global things, and the Asian things probably we can explain more later.
Thank you. Thank you for this good point. And I totally agree with you. This kind of putting it on the slide looks a bit like a hierarchy, which it should not be. Actually, it should, the value is here. The value is from the bottom to the top, from the national to the sub-regional to the global. Of course, you need not have the recognition of the global IGF to do something in your country or in your region. But on the other hand, if you are able to let your results feeding into the global debate, this has a real value. And this is actually being responsible for the European Internet Governance Forum as a regional. I see it as our duty to better connect the national initiatives with the global one, because otherwise the messages or the results are getting lost on the way. And I think this is a duty that maybe the Asia Pacific IGF might also consider, making the IGF aware that there is a lot more happening in your region than they represent on the website. And that's what we're doing for Eurodic as well. We know we have a lot of other initiatives. In Sweden, for instance, there are 2 initiatives taking place annually, but they are not an IGF per se, and they will not appear on the website. Still, Sweden is a very committed and very active country when it comes to internet governance discussion, and they are actually on the forefront in Europe. So our duty as a regional IGF is that we would like to make that connection between the nationals, recognized yes or no, and the global one, because we as a regional, we don't have this UN umbrella which we have to operate. We are much more flexible, and I guess you're in the Asia Pacific region as well. You can be also much more flexible in setting your own guidelines, setting your own rules, and at the end it's just about getting the messages from the bottom to the top. So this is how it is also taken from the global IGF website. We have been on that. No, this is not complete. Okay. IGF is always questions for being a talking shop. And it makes no decisions, and it's not relevant for governments. Yes, it is a talking shop, and it must be a talking shop. This was the mandate according to the Tunis agenda. It was a discussion forum, it was not a decision-making body. Just imagine if all stakeholder groups should come to a conclusion. They would never come to a conclusion. They would fight about words and commas, and nothing would happen at the end. The value of the IGF is actually that it opens mind and mouth for everyone, including governments, including the business sector. If they would know that what they are speaking on a session, or they have to fight for a conclusion, or they have to fight for outcomes that they have to justify in front of their government or in front of their employee, they would never be as open as they are. And this is the great value, that you can talk to each other on the corridors during a session publicly, and that they will really tell you, most likely, what they think about your issues, what perspective they have, and this is really the enriching moment. And just to tell you, many discussions about the IANA transition, which was an outcome-oriented process, had actually its side talks and discussion during many of the IGFs. And this was a very good fora for also the civil society to become more involved than they might be in ICANN, because ICANN is very complicated and it takes much longer to go through the processes, the procedures, the meeting structure of an ICANN meeting than of an IGF, which is taking place once a year. And it will be even more easy for you if you participate in a national or a regional forum, even if it's from a neighboring country, because they will speak most likely a language you are familiar with, and we'll talk about issues which are most relevant for your region. So again, I would really strongly encourage you to participate in one and maybe think about becoming an active member or setting one national in your country as well. I've spoken about, let me go back to that slide. So if you look at all these stakeholder groups, the technicals, underneath, the business sector, the civil society, and the governments, and this, looking at this from a global perspective, you can imagine that collaboration has a lot of hurdles and difficulties. There is first of all the language. There is the hurdle of, yes, you have a question?
Yeah, please, can you go back to the previous slide?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm Awal from Bangladesh. I'm Youth IGF ambassador, so I'm an inSIG fellow here. So in the previous definition, there was no technical community in the definition. Now in the picture, there are a lot of technical communities. Then should I consider that previous definition is wrong?
It's
not fully completed?
Yeah, it's not wrong. A technical community is in the broad context considered to be civil society, as well as academics. I mean, if we, meanwhile it has become a tradition to separate into technical community as well, because they have a different perspective than civil society organizations. But in the definition from the Tunis agenda, I think that's the one you're referring to, technical community is included in civil society. So when it comes to collaboration, I mean, language, cultural issues, speaking, I mean, governments talking differently to each other than civil society would talk to governments. So there have been a lot of hurdles in the past, and still are. What collaboration makes it a little bit challenging. I wouldn't say difficult, but challenging. This is a process we all have to learn. I mean, just imagine we are dealing, or we are working in this kind of multi-stakeholder model for 10 years only, so we are very young. We are in very young shoes, so don't expect too much, but, I mean, yes, you can expect a lot, but if it's not working the way you would have expected it, then don't be disappointed and give it another trial. I mean, I realized that the people from North America and Europe, they're very outspoken, they are very loud, they can just speak up, they stand up, while I had to learn that for people from the Asian parts of the country, they stay quiet before they speak and they listen more. They are just not so outspoken. And then it happened that the meeting is over, and who are speaking? Americans and Europeans. Maybe a little bit Latin Americans, but this is not so diverse as we want the process to be. So this is also something the Europeans, North Americans have to learn, to step a little bit back, and maybe the Asian people to be a little bit more at the forefront and try to catch up with this kind of behavior in fighting for your perspectives. Language, of course, is an issue. I mean, English, I'm always advocating that English should be the working language, but I know it's difficult for many regions in the world to learn 3 or 4 languages and English is not the first for many people. What are the themes? Unlimited. I would say there is no limit or there is no theme regarding to the internet which you could not discuss on an IGF. It can be actual themes like the AI transition, but it is of course also surveillance, privacy, and all the other issues. The global IGF, and I think this is right, is very much oriented to work under the Sustainable Development Goals, and accessibility and development are on top of the agenda of the global IGF. Of course, these are also nice drawings you can look at them in detail, because I guess you will be handed out these presentations. Crime is of course also an issue, and crime in each country means something different. I mean, there's only one topic I could think of where everyone can agree this is a crime, and this is child pornography. All the other issues all over the world are questionable in one country or the other. Jurisdiction, I explained already that example with a device from Asia, a server in Europe, and a service from the US. So where is the border? When we have self-driving cars in the future, how does this car behave when it crosses a border? Does it have to follow the rules of the country where it came from? Or will there be roaming charges apply? I mean, these are all questions we cannot resolve on a national level. We can only resolve on a global, if you look at it globally. Before I finish, I just want to give you an example on the juridic participation process, how such a participation process could look like. Please don't get me wrong, this is not how it should be, this is how it could be. And the juridic, and I also handed out these brochures already, you can find these graphics in this brochure as well, is working on this process since more or less the beginning, but it was sharpened and developed from year to year. And meanwhile, we have a quite stable process which works out in Europe, but I'm sure it wouldn't work out in the same way in other regions. So it is up to the region to define their own participation processes. So in Europe, we start usually on the 1st of October with a call for issues. Differently than the global IGF, we do not ask for session proposals, for plenaries or workshops, but we ask for issues which are of a broader interest for the European community. This is a very short submission and you can't get rejected, that's the good thing. If you make a submission, as a European, we focus on Europeans in our region of course, but if you make a submission, this will go into the global program planning process, and it might feed into one of these sessions, but it's not that we say your proposal is accepted and yours is not. That's the first and only big difference to the global IGF. The call for proposal is open for 3 months. Everyone is invited to submit a proposal via our website, and it will close on 31st of December. And during the IGF, which is usually in this time period, we are of course promoting to participate in the call for proposal. Participating in this call for proposals takes 3 minutes only, not more. So everyone can do this. And you don't need to have a great academical or governmental expertise or so. If you're interested in a topic, and if you say, I would like to hear people talking about this, then you have the right just to submit your idea. We have a review then in January. This is undertaken by the Secretariat with the help of subject matter experts, where we cluster all the proposals, where we say, okay, this is similar to this one, this might go in one session, this is similar here to this is a standing alone project, this might be a flash session, or this might be a side event or a pre-event. And then we present all the proposals on our website and also during an open planning meeting where everyone is invited to participate. It usually takes place in the country where we are going to have the juridic, because one specialty on juridic is that we are organizing it each year in another European country. We are doing it for the 10th years now, and we haven't been on one country twice, and will not be hopefully in the future. This planning meeting end of January, is, as I said, open for the broader community. Many Europeans come to that country, but half of the participants are, of course, from the country where we are. This is also to mobilize the local community. Of course, in Europe we have regions as well which are underserved. When we've been in Bulgaria, for instance, we really had to mobilize the local community because they have not been that strong as they have been in Germany or in Belgium, for instance, where you have many people dealing with internet governance. And then we have, after this planning meeting, we have a draft program which is out for consolidation by the community again. This is the point where people can say, hey, my proposal, it doesn't belong in that basket, could you please put it to another session because this is what I actually meant? Or where people who just found out about the process can say, well, nice program, but I'm missing a very important point here, could you please include that in the program? And we are doing our best to accommodate all the many requests. And the Secretariat in this respect is not a decision-making body, we are just facilitating the ground for collaboration. We are not imposing issues or imposing topics, we are just taking what we get from the community. And then after the consolidated programs, we open up a call for org teams, because also the development of each session is not with the Secretariat, it's with the community. So for instance, you could be the focal point for a topic you have a great interest in, and 5 others out of this room can be members of the org team. You might never have met before, but you have all an interest in the same topic. You might have different perspectives, because one is civil society, the other is business, the other is government. But within this org team, you're supposed to collaborate. And you're supposed to organize a session including speakers, key participants, and including a good follow-up, reporting, and bringing content on the website by just talking to each other over the phone, over email, and maybe you have the opportunity to meet at one of these internet governance meetings, ICANN meeting, or whatsoever. These org teams, this is also a special thing at Eurodig, are open until the very last moment, because we found out, because we are in another region or in another country each year, communities find out rather late. And then they say, oh my god, this is happening in my country, it's actually my topic, but now I'm too late to participate in the process. No, at Eurodig you are not. You can become a member of an org team until the last moment. And if this is even too late, you are invited to speak up during the conference and just take the floor. We have a very useful tool developed, I mean we have not developed it, but we are using this very useful tool, which is a wiki. Because for somebody who's joining the process later, he or she of course doesn't want to interrupt the whole process and would like have the opportunity to get a little bit informed on what has been discussed already, what has been decided, why it has been decided. So if you go to the Eurodig website, you will find the Eurodig wiki, where you can find for each session the sort of a session outline and also a discussion where sort of minutes and telephone conferences are summarized and where everyone can inform himself. As a side effect, this wiki is going to be the Eurodig archive over the years. Meanwhile, we have content from 3 years, including transcripts, including videos. So for academic research within Europe, this is really a good resource of what has been discussed over the year, and avoids also to discuss every year the same issues again and again by different people. So then we have the Eurodig, which is a 2-day event, meanwhile 3 days, because day 0 became the day for pre-events, and we have already requests for next year in June to organize pre-events. And then we have the reporting phase, which takes place over July, and the result of our conference are the messages. We call them by purpose messages because they are not negotiated. They are not even built on consensus, they just summarize what has been discussed in the session. And even if there was a disagreement on one topic, then this can go into the messages, because this is also a result of our discussion. And we developed this over the years. At the beginning it was a 24-pager written text, and we realized this is not very handy, so What we did here in this little brochure is just summarizing bullet points, and if you want to know more about the session, you can watch the video capture, or you can read the session transfer. By the way, the term messages has been, at least in Europe, taken over by many other forums because it is just so handy. It's so vague, but still open, and doesn't imply any final result. So here again, this is the Euroleague participation process. I guess it's hard to read on this slide, but you will find it also in this brochure on page 47, 46. And now just some recommendations how you might get involved, what sources there are around. I mean, if you're academic, you're probably very good in terms of self-studying. I recommend the ICANN learning platform, or also ISOC has developed a learning platform, which is definitely a good source of finding resources. Then, of course, there are learning and education programs. Diplo Foundation is running a very, very well organized virtual program. Then we have the schools on internet governance. One is here, so you took the step already. And then really participate in the IGF, in the national, might be the easiest form, in the regional, and of course the global is always a matter of resource, travel funds, so on and so forth. But I know the IGF is taking a lot of effort to, and also we at Euroleague, we are also taking a lot of effort to bring underserved regions to this forums. So with this, I would like to thank you and remain open for more questions. Sati, how many time? 15 more minutes, right? 5 minutes, okay.
Hi, good morning. My name is Padu. I had a question. I'm kind of curious in terms of how IGF feeds back into public policy. The reason I ask is because the EU has been quite proactive in terms of internet public policy, in terms of either the data security issues or privacy or the safe harbor. So I just want to understand from your experience from the IGF forums, how much does that feedback and how is the feedback to public policy from the EU or even national governments?
Well, the EU is, the European Commission is a very strong defender of the multi-stakeholder model and supports the IGF, not only financial-wise, but also the concept. This is what I try to touch, your question is what I try to touch with that the IGF is not producing outcome. So you cannot say, you cannot give a directive to policymakers. But what it truly does is, when talking to each other, everyone goes home with some new ideas and with some new perspective he or she was not thinking about this way before. And this is actually what influences, when the global IGF influences your daily work. When you go home to your workplace and you say, hey, but I talked to these and these people, I have listened to that, and now I do my work a little bit differently. And this is actually where this global thing goes very much to the bottom line of decision making, because it's down to the people who are dealing with it. It not comes from the top in terms of there is a directive and then it goes through legislation and so on and so forth. No, it really goes down to the people who have to include their gained knowledge into their daily work. Does this answer your question?
Just to add, how much is there an interface with the EU in terms of other people from the EU coming to these forums to actually understand what's the feedback from the end users? That's kind of an add-on question.
EU is very well represented. There's a group of parliamentarians there. The Commission is of course there. With having Euroleague in Brussels, the Commission even more committed to that kind of multi-stakeholder model and to the Euroleague in particular. We are even organizing for the second year now the booth jointly with the Commission. So yes, they do have a strong interest, and they're also sending the digital commissioners coming, and yes, that's the case.
I just
like how much of inputs from IGF has been able to contribute to ICANN, and how is the link established between IGF and ICANN? Probably a basic question.
Well, one of the negotiations in the WSIS process, or one of the criticisms in the WSIS process, was that ICANN is a US-dominated corporation, which was true by that time. And there was always a pressure on the US to free up the ICANN from the US government, which has recently happened with the IANA transition. So this was somehow the first linkage. And then you will find many people like myself or Olivier or other people in this community who are working on both sides. And of course, if people meet, and if people meet again and again, those issues are mixed. I mean, while the IGF is talking a lot about human rights, access, diversity and all this, at ICANN we are really dealing with the hard stuff. ICANN meetings are the ones where the decision must be taken within the limit of ICANN, and IGF is actually where the discussions taking place, including but not limited to ICANN issues. It's a little bit broader issue-wise, that's why we're speaking about IGF from the macrocosm and ICANN of the microcosm.
Hello, this is Hoyan from China, and also a ISOC fellow. And as I could see that is that from that you have mentioned about the international organization in the IG fields, is that the WF, OECD, these organizations maybe not in this field, but they are trying to involve themselves in this field. So how could we face this reality?
I know that OSCE is heavily involved in the global fora. They are not yet in the regional or in the nationals. This has to change. I can tell that from the yearly perspective that OSCE is not yet as involved as we would like to be. Are there any more questions? I mean, I'm also staying for the ICANN meeting, and if you have a question later on, you can also email me or grab me on the corridor. Renata, yes?
You showed, sorry, I have to talk to my close video. You showed the layers. The IGF has this link with the UN, and the UN recognizes countries, and there are continents and regions of continents. For instance, I'm sorry, Renata. So I was talking about the IGF regionals and national regions. Yeah? For instance, you have Sahara, you have the Amazon, you have MAG members who represent that region. For example, a friend who is policy analyst of Sub-Sahara, and I'm from the north of South America, so I also teach on the Amazon River. For us, it makes no sense to have sub-regional IGF north of America, because that's not what defines us. So it would make much more sense to have an IGF Amazon. However, we go head-to-head with the UN that has this limitations on borders. But now we have the dynamic coalition on climate change and international governance. We have so many issues that are go against this logic of states. So how will that work for the future of the IGF? There's much more organization, less frontier work, and more issues like this, for example, for us. Do you see that possible sometime in the timeline of the UN to have a different organization of the IGFs? And how will that come about?
It's a reality already. We have, for instance, the Persian IGF, which is under formation, or I fear they got a little bit stuck, and Persia includes Iran, Iraq, and don't get me wrong if I missed one country now. And we have also, for instance, the Southeastern European Dialogue on Internet Governance, which is our little sister. And this includes the Southeastern European countries in Europe, including Greece and the former Yugoslavian countries and so on and so forth. So they already opened up not to stick to national or continental borders, but they also comply with communities. So that's already a reality. And was there another part of your question regarding content rights?
How can you do that? I mean, do you have to have permission from the country or from a region?
Speaking for the CIDIC, and you will find the CIDIC report in our brochure as well, it was a couple of people who found we are a region, we have somehow the same issues, so let's start and do something. 5 people in XCOM. Now they are in the 2nd year and they are looking into options how to become a legal body. And as long as they comply with the IGF guidelines, and I won't call them rules, I won't call them slightly guidelines, being multi-stakeholder, being open to everyone, not closed, giving a report and so on and so forth, they are recognized easily. There's no hurdle as such at all. In this respect, I would also like to draw your attention to a process which is initiated by the global IGF to establish or to draft a toolkit how to establish a global or regional IGF, which might give people who are interested in setting up something in their country, who gives them some sort of guidelines how to proceed. There will no easy solution like one size fits all, not for sure, but it might give you some directions in which way to go.
Yeah, one clarification, because I want you to misunderstand. Persian IGF is very interesting. To be precise, Iraq is not a member. The reason is that this is to be precise, Persian language IGF. So the global speaker Persian, like Iran and Afghanistan and some countries in Central Asia. And they have a very successful IGF with 800 people or something. It was very impressive. Then somehow they couldn't go on 2nd and the 3rd. Still they are working on. And having said that, one more the challenge we have in Asia, Pacific IGF. This is regional. How about 20 or 30 countries? But all of them is very small in the Pacific Islands. And they have a meeting every once in a while, but it's not easy. Because it's so many those small countries, and getting together is so difficult, and as you can tell, but the area is huge. But you can put several of the Europe there. And that's another challenge we are facing in Asia Pacific. Thank you.
Okay, I invite you to get me if you have more questions.